Hey everybody, Breakthrough Health and Life Coach Glenn Hattem here. I'm here with my good buddy Cole Stevens. Say hi to everybody, Cole.
What's up, everybody? Cole here. Glenn, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, where are you at right now, Cole?
Yeah, so right now, talking to you from Southside Minneapolis, born and raised, love to represent, love my city.
Hell yes. And speaking of representing, what are all the different things you're representing? Because you have quite a diverse background and passion for life, and you're someone I know that goes at life full throttle. So when it comes to some of the things you're involved with personally and professionally, maybe share a little bit for our audience to start the conversation.
For sure. Well, yeah, I mean, we represent the young people, man. So the organization that I was very blessed to be able to co-found with my good friend Walter Cortina. It's basically started out of the situation we had during COVID, where all these young people were getting laid off, but the government wasn't letting them get unemployment benefits. So we fought hard because we were those same young people affected by that law. We fought hard, got people together, and we fixed the problem. And that was done by a group of people who was all largely unable to even legally vote. So that shows the power of your voice if you really get people together and fight for just what's right. You know what I mean? How are you gonna look a kid in the face who can't pay his bills and be like, nah, whatever,
And you guys at the courts overturned what it was like $30 million, or what happened there?
Yeah, so $30 million was how much they'd given, and then they stopped counting. But excuse me, almost sneezed. But I mean, to be honest, probably about 50, 60.
Okay. And then and that's with Bridgemakers, correct? Bridgemakers is the name of the organization. And what is Bridgemakers about, really? What is this organization that you guys founded?
Yeah, so we amplify and mentor youth leadership so that we can bridge America's toughest gaps and renew American democracy. So everybody knows about the fact that things are heavily divided right now. Everybody knows about the fact that, the media is less than helpful, let's just say, in a lot of situations. And, despite amazing numbers of voter engagement amongst young people last year, or last election, people are afraid the engagement is dwindling. Excuse me. People are afraid the engagement is dwindling. So we're here to basically get the young people together and teach them about their democracy and teach them other ways to fight for change in their communities.
And why are you so why are you so passionate about this? Like how has your growing up in the city there been impacted by these things, and why are you being thrusted in this direction of leading?
Man, I was I didn't really think I was going to go down this path. So that's the funny thing about life. Things will happen right in front of your face, and you'll just sort of be like, you'll think you're going one way, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm feeling pulled this direction. So, I mean, like I said, I was one of the young people who was affected by the unemployment situation. And, I had been building up all these sorts of resentments, I think, about our government, growing up, and just about sort of society and the status quo in general. And so the unemployment thing was really just the spark where I was like, okay, I can't ignore this anymore. But previous to that, man, I mean, growing up poor in Minneapolis, it was a lot of violence. It was a lot of drugs in the community, and it was a school system that gets over. I mean, I'm talking just about my Minneapolis district school, $700 million a year to teach their students weren't being uplifted. Their stories weren't being uplifted. They weren't being listened to. They were completely uninspired in their day to day. And we weren't learning basic stuff, man. I mean, so I saw this education system as a big, big pain point in my life too. And the criminal justice system, I've been I've come into contact with that system directly a couple times, and I've had a lot of friends who've been wronged by that system as well. So it was a lot of things building up, man.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been through some unique life experiences. Maybe share a little bit with our audience about just what you were like growing up, because I know you're a passionate musician, and you have a knack for entrepreneurial the entrepreneur's path, but maybe share a little bit about like your upbringing and just the reality of some of the things you were facing growing up, and the hard lessons you were getting spanked with.
Yo, hard lessons, man, but you get the best things learned after them, so I can't complain. Well, first thing I gotta say is no regrets, right? All this stuff came to be a strength down the line. But yeah, I mean, growing up, right off bat, I had a Black mother and a white father, so I was, I've always been biracial, obviously, and that gave me sort of two different perspectives of like two different Americas, two different American dreams and experiences. So right away, I was introduced to disparity by the time I was born. And seeing this then play out in our school system, like I said, seeing it play out in like a pretty relatively segregated Minneapolis. And then, the other things, dude, is just growing up, like I said, like poor in Southside Minneapolis. I'm gonna be honest too, like my hood, like Lake Street, like all of that. Like I was so inspired by this Lake Street is just when the riots happened, murder George Floyd. But it's just, for me, it was like this oasis of like vibrant, lively Black-owned businesses and Black and Latino culture. And so it was beautiful for me. It was like our own little melting pot, right? And that is, yeah. So yeah, dude, I mean, it was that, but then kind of moving into high school, like I said, about the different things I wasn't so excited about with school, how I felt bored there. I lost my best friend to an opioid overdose when I was in high school at the age of 16. And that really changed me too, because previous to that, as a product of my environment, I was getting into a lot of bullshit, drugs. There was just all the things you distract yourself with when you're traumatized, right? And that woke me up, like really fast. That woke me up. I was like, I can't play these games anymore. We're me and my friends all kind of realized like we're playing with our lives right now, which is just crazy. So that inspired me. Still went through a lot at that point. When I was working to help pay bills at my dad's house because he was coming out of treatment and it was just a bad situation for him. But I gotta say, hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. That was kind of the big thing that came out of that, man. I had to make a lot of hard choices. I had to do a lot of very difficult things. And, right now it's not all peachy, but I can say I'm starting to enjoy the fruits of my labor.
Yeah. And you've also kind of changed your relationships with kind of the use of drugs. Some of the drugs out there actually can be really, with the right intention and the right setting, can be very expansive, and expanding one's consciousness, awareness, and also getting more principle with how you want to live your life.
Absolutely. I mean, I 100% agree with you, because it's just now sort of being given the resources to actually have the clinical studies. But if you look specifically at psilocybin mushrooms, it complete. I mean, I know several people directly who's like, they attribute a huge change in their life, or have attributed to helping them like fight addiction. And I can say I've experienced some of these benefits myself as well. So I'm not gonna lie here. There's definitely an expansive lens that it can give you.
Yeah. So not only helping you with creativity with your music, but also just your ability to be of service to others and showing up and seeing others fully, without judgment. To this, like, I'm assuming with a lot of the work you're doing, it requires you to show up powerfully, lead powerfully in very difficult environments, difficult situations that most people, love what you're doing, but, to get their feet, get their hands dirty in the work itself, it requires a certain level of personal responsibility.
Yes. Personal responsibility to yourself and personal responsibility to the people you serve. One thing about the nonprofit industry is it's full of like folks who are just showing. They're just kind of showing, and they're not truly there for the people that they serve when it's outside of their specific criteria or outside of their specific program, or outside of the hours of the day or whatever. There's been a lot of things where I'm like, wow, we are not really qualified for this, or this was not in the plan at all. But it's a young person who's struggling, who's talking to me right now, that looks up to me, that's saying they need help, right? So like, what am I going to do? Am I going to shut them out? No. Am I going to pour, am I going to pour everything I have in me until I got nothing left? No, there's a balance to all these things. You have to make sure your cup is full. But, just doing it could be really little things, man. Like just hearing somebody out, right? Being an open ear to somebody who's, really mad at a sibling or a parent, or is having, trouble in school with a teacher or another student. And just sort of being like, giving them your experience too. Like, hey, I've actually been through something kind of similar. You know what I did? Or you could be like, you know what I did that you shouldn't do, right?
Yeah, so it's not always trying to just coming at people. In fact, you don't really build someone's trust by coming at them from a higher ground. You got to kind of meet them where they're at and say like, I wasn't any better, I made these mistakes too, and kind of figured some of these things out through mistakes, or adjustments I needed to make, along the way. And I think that's a real special quality that you, as well as the other gentleman that I've gotten to know well in Bridgemakers, is like just being real makes a difference. Being real and being willing to just sit with people that are going through hard stuff, and being able to say, hey, I haven't been through maybe this exact situation that you've been through, and I'm not trying to one up you with something worse, but at the same time,
right,
like, I don't have any problem sitting here with this. It's not impacting me in a negative way, because I'm well resourced to be here with you. And that's a big part of like how you guys show up with the hard works. And there's a lot of projects and that you guys are spearheading, but it's really how you're showing up and how you're doing this work with your team there, as well as the people that you're serving.
100%. The biggest thing is that I feel like, it comes back to it. As I said, hard choices, easy life, easy choices, hard life, right? So if you make the easy choice where somebody brings something up that's really uncomfortable, or it's like, I don't even know how to respond to that. It's like, I'm not feeling, well with that. And so then you run away from that conversation, right? That's the easy choice. That's going to make things harder. That's going to make things more tense. That's going to make, all these kind of feelings come up and like sit there. But if you make the hard choice of being like, wow, you can say directly to somebody, right? This is that being real part. You can tell somebody you don't know what to say. You can tell somebody that like, wow, I don't, I'm not what you just laid on me was really heavy, and I'm not an expert, and I'm not going to sit here and give you the best advice that's going to fix your problem like this. But what I will do is like, let you lean on me. Like, you can tell me more about that. And I'll tell you like, wow, yeah, I would feel like that too if I was you,
Yeah. And somehow like that permission of, hey, I'm not coming at you to tell you you're looking at this thing wrong and you got to do it differently. It's more like, you know what? I'd be feeling effed up if I was in that your situation too. And how would you get out of this situation? How would you look at this thing differently? Meaning putting the power back into them versus they maybe at the moment they think they want to like pass the buck and get some good advice from you on how to fix that situation. To really serve somebody is like, no, man, you created this. How are you gonna create something else?
Right. In that way you can kind of like, you can just set the table. You can set the energy so that they have their own tools to build that, and that's a skill, man. That's like really, just like any other skill can be practiced, but it's funny because that one is hard to practice because it's not only really uncomfortable, but it's sometimes hard for even folks who do want to practice that to even like get into those situations. Because I'm in a unique position where the young people that I work with, I call them young people, bro. I'm like 2 to 4 years older than them. Like I was just literally them. I was just literally in high school going through the same stuff. So they warm up to us and they tell me stuff that I feel like they probably haven't told their parents ever, that like they tell me after like 5 minutes of knowing them, you know what I mean? And just like cracking jokes and like talking with each other. And so I'm allowed to be in those spaces and practice that a lot. But for Yeah, man. I mean, it is for all leaders out there and people who like lead teams. It's a really big thing. It's important too, because like your whole team needs to be able to feel like they can like say things like that and like really be vulnerable.
Now your organization is all youth run, right? It's pretty much
Everything. It's a bunch of hooligans. It's a bunch of hooligans changing the world.
yes. And why is it so unique, or what makes you guys so special? Like, what is it that you guys are doing on the interior of this business, and how you guys work together and how you operate a business? Because you have a big an organization that keeps growing, and the impact you guys are having is tremendous. Maybe share a little bit about maybe some of the principles that that you guys follow inside the organization that are kind of the guiding light.
Oh yeah. So I mean, a lot of these guiding principles we actually came to realize during our initial campaign, you know, that kind of started the organization. And what those are is, number one, intergenerational mentorship. So what that means is like young people have a lot to bring to the table as mentors as well as adults. So we sort of, you know, we pair adults and young people together. It's not just like the adults pouring into the youth and they're just like a sponge ready to soak everything up, but it's like we're both sponges. You know what I mean? We're kind of going back and forth. We both have knowledge to share between each other. And then the other thing is, you know, we are, I mean, it's in the name, like bridging gaps, right? So like the big gap that we had to bridge was the generational gap and the political gap during our unemployment campaign. And right now we're sort of bridging that education gap, and we're bridging the economic opportunity gap. So like when it's really like looking at these either disparities or like toxic differences in our society. Prime example being the political gap, where we're trying to bring these things together so that we can sort of, you know, we say we're renewing American democracy. I mean, it really is about bringing us together. Like, yo, like we are here all fighting for the same country. You know what I mean? If we can really engage in democratic discussion and stop hating each other and stop calling each other names and saying you're dumb this and you know this that and you're, you know, blah 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 blah, that things will be better. I went to Georgetown. I had the unique pleasure of visiting Georgetown with my mentors who graduated from Georgetown, you know, a little bit ago. And it was cool because I'm like not a student there. So I'm just like watching all these other students and they're like used to it, but I'm amazed. I was at a talk with Robert Gates, who was the former defense secretary. And he was there in the war room with Obama when they got bin Laden. He was like right there, right? And this guy, I'm literally like not 30 feet away from this guy, and he says the biggest threat to this country is not any foreign thing or anything like that, but it's the 2 square miles that lie between the Capitol and the White House. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Or just like that area is just, so he's just saying it's us, it's our own division that is our biggest threat.
And how like in your organization with Bridgemakers, how is that? I mean, from what I've witnessed, like that division's just canceled out. It's like not part of the reality. You know, it's like, hey, we're all like, there's a lot of common ground for all of us, and it's very easy to start getting into the separatist viewpoint. But you have such an eclectic, I mean, the group of folks that works with Bridgemakers, and then your guys' mission out in the world, it's you could say it's diversity, but there's just this beautiful mesh. I think that comes from that guiding principle that you guys have, which is like we all just got to come together and figure out we're all these things, some of these things that are historically have been in place for quite some time doesn't mean they're right. you know so maybe share a little bit about kind of as an organization, like how you guys are moving through the world and the projects you're engaging with today. Like how's that, maybe relate that to what you're up to currently.
For sure. Yeah. I had our board chair. He came to my house once to drop off a camera because we were doing an interview, and like it was really funny because we had like most of the whole team there, and he was laughing because he was like, this is actually like a movie where they cast the group of friends together as like you got like the light skinned dude, and then you got like the Latina, and then you got like it's like he was laughing because it was like, this is so funny because this doesn't even actually look real. Like y'all are actually the hodgepodge squad. Like it looks like Hollywood put y'all together on purpose. So but that's just really actually us, and some people call it diversity. I just think I call it like, unity. But yeah, so anyway, let me get into it though. So we got some amazing work going on right now. Like I said, we have a big focus on schools. So we are fully focused on bringing young people together, particularly students, to talk with school administrators, to talk with elected officials, to talk with parents and teachers, bring all these stakeholders together about how do we make schools more learner-centered? How do we make them more based around passion? And how do we actually prepare young people for like the 21st century of work and of democracy and of society, right? So, I mean, we've got, my big thing, man, is that the education system was built during sort of the Industrial Revolution, and it was really created initially to churn out a bunch of factory workers. Now, the big problem with that is that the jobs that we're preparing them for which the system was built around, are being automated away right now. They got robots flipping hamburgers. They got completely personless soup kitchens. They got the self-driving trucks are coming out, and that's already becoming a huge thing. You see what's going on in Canada. All these things are happening right now, right in front of our faces. And if we don't prepare people for, being sort of free thinkers and being problem solvers, then it's going to be incredibly tough, if not impossible, to adjust to this new economy that's coming on. The other thing is that you'll actually see in the Minnesota State Education Clause, it says that people who graduate should be able to govern their state, which is completely not true right now. The people graduating are not able to do that. They're completely not able to do that. They just don't. They dropped the freaking ball on civics, dude. And then so there's that, and we also uplift young entrepreneurs, by just sort of getting them connected and going through the motions on what it is that their business needs, taking their idea and turning it into like an actual investable business. So that's something that we've been doing. I'm excited to share more. Those are called our fellows. What's going on in the world of youth juvenile justice, man? We're trying to end the school to prison pipeline. So again, just bringing the voice. I mean, it's all pretty much bringing youth voices together to advocate for, a better environment for all of us. And stay tuned in July too. If you're out here in the world virtually, you can check out our National Youth Leadership Summit.
Well, how would people get a hold of you if they wanted to find out more about Bridgemakers or even reach out to you? Because you've also got an incredible recording studio, and you're quite impassioned with music and doing a lot of creative things there with artists locally. But how? Maybe if you could list off a few ways to reach out to you and learn more about what you're up to in the world.
Yeah, dude. Well, I really like to connect with people on. I mean, I'm sitting there in front of a big old mixing board, so you should like be able to tell it to me. And then on top of that, man, if you go to www.bridgemakersmn.org, so that's MN like Minnesota, Bridgemakers MN, you'll be able to learn more about us. You can go and read more about the rest of the team, and you can stay up to date with events and just cool activities that we have going on. Like I said, got the National Youth Leadership coming up. We're going to do like a virtual stream of the connect with us on Bridgemakers and Men.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're still freezing up. We've had a couple technology glitches on this call, but I just want to say thank you, Cole, for being on this call and connecting with everybody. I want to thank everybody for listening as well too. And please reach out to Cole. He's got a big heart and he's very powerful, doing some incredible work in the world. And yeah, just figure out a way to get involved. And thank you, Cole, for your time today. Really appreciate you, brother.
All right, Glenn, you're doing amazing stuff. Thanks for letting me on the podcast, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Okay. All right. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode.